disregarding and violating their own fourth principle, which calls for a free and responsible search for truth and meaning. To say nothing of the second principle, which calls for justice, equity, and compassion in human relations. No, these Montreal Unitarians, Montreal Unitarian Universalists are only too happy to totally ignore serious problems within their religious community. So, and this is by no means the only problem, but this is serious. You know, this is when your religious community misuses Canada's blasphemy law in an effort to conceal such despicable crimes as pedophilia and rape from the public, well, then I say that's highly immoral, highly unethical. It is, in fact, borderline criminal, one step away from committing the crime of making a false report to the police. And yes, it's, it's batshit crazy too, for a variety of reasons. It also, in addition to violating Unitarian Universalism's claimed principles and purposes, it also put an end to a centuries-old tradition of opposing blasphemy laws. But anyway, we're going to get back to the Maitre Coulombe issue. I basically made it clear to Maitre Coulombe that, he had actually falsely accused me. That my blog posts about such despicable crimes as pedophilia and rape committed by Reverend Mac Wallace Mitchell and Richard Buell, say nothing of other Unitarian Universalists, because there are other Unitarian Universalists, including Unitarian Universalist ministers, who are most certainly guilty of such despicable crimes as pedophilia or rape. Basically that was the last I heard from him, to make a not too fine a point on it. But because I'd been falsely accused of blasphemous libel in legal bullying that sought to conceal Unitarian Universalist clergy sex abuse from the public, as much as my blog posts were concerned in any case, I made some fairly straightforward demands in response to that false accusation. And I demanded three very straightforward things. One, the Unitarian Universalist Association, to say nothing of its Stikeman Elliott lawyer, must formally withdraw the false blasphemous libel accusation, to say nothing of some other ridiculous allegations that were in the cease and desist demand letter. So, two, that the Unitarian Universalist Association, to say nothing of its Canadian attorney, and indeed the law firm, Stikeman Elliott Barristers and Solicitors, must properly and publicly apologize for falsely accusing me of blasphemous libel in an effort to hide pedophilia and rape committed by Unitarian Universalist ministers. And thirdly, that the Unitarian Universalist Association must publicly disclose exactly how many of its ministers, to say nothing of its Sunday school teachers, have in fact been charged, tried, and convicted and sentenced to jail terms for committing such despicable crimes as pedophilia and rape. Because it's not just Reverend Mac Wallace Mitchell, there are others. There's a certain number of other cases where Unitarian Universalist ministers have been convicted of sexual abuse of children, specifically pedophilia, which I hadn't actually blogged about prior to 2012. I knew about them, but I didn't feel I knew enough about them to make it worthwhile to blog about them. Good day, sir.
Okay.
I stuck with cases that had much more information available publicly, so I could speak about those cases and have what I was saying backed up by newspaper reports and so on. By the way, the other cases I'm talking about have also been reported in newspapers and such, but in a kind of vague way. Like sometimes the minister is not named, sometimes even the church is not named. It's just reported, that, a certain Unitarian Universalist minister of an unnamed Unitarian Universalist church was in fact convicted of sexual abuse of children and so on, that kind of thing. So, in some cases I've been able to identify the church, haven't always been able to identify the minister. Why bother with somewhat obscure stuff? But all the more reason for the Unitarian Universalist Association to properly come clean about exactly who amongst its ministers, and I would add Sunday school teachers, have in fact been charged, tried, and convicted of such despicable crimes as pedophilia and rape. Good day. And I would add that, as everybody knows, for every person who's charged, tried, and convicted of pedophilia or rape, or both together, as was the case with Richard Buell, there are others who aren't convicted, who maybe aren't even arrested and charged, but who are nonetheless accused credibly. The UUA, as I said, goes to considerable lengths to protect ministers who are accused of such things and to keep it hidden as much as possible. They coerce and bully complainants into signing confidentiality agreements and so on, or they threaten them with legal action and so on to keep them quiet. So there are, for sure, other cases of sexual assault committed by Unitarian Universalist ministers in which the minister in question is very, very credibly accused of sexual assault, but not actually charged, and therefore not actually convicted. But nonetheless, there are cases that the Unitarian Universalist Association knows about where ministers have been credibly accused of various sex crimes, serious clergy sexual misconduct. I'm not talking about a minister having an affair with a congregant. I'm talking about serious sex crimes. Although I will say that in certain states of the United States, there are laws on the books which make it a crime for a clergy person to even have an affair with a congregant. So even though having an affair with someone is not normally a criminal act, in the case of a minister having an affair with a congregant, well, that is considered to be a criminal act in certain individual states of the United States of America. And there have been cases where ministers have broken that law. Ministers, they haven't committed rape, they haven't committed pedophilia, but they have in fact had, sexual relations with congregants in violation of state laws which prohibit that. And it does look like the UUA and the and the individual churches have in fact protected the ministers from being charged with that crime. They've moved them out of state and so on. So again, it's just more of the same, more of the Unitarian Universalist religious community protecting its ministers from the consequences of their sexual misconduct, or even when they have been charged, tried, and convicted, and sentenced to jail terms and so on, doing their best to keep it hidden from the public. So here's one of the people who has erased my picket signs, or at least has been involved in those. Well, maybe not. No, I'm getting her mixed up with someone else. I think she's stolen my picket signs, if I'm not mistaken, actually. So anyway, certainly one of those Montreal Unitarians who has ignored my protests for years, if not decades. Yeah, another Unitarian Universalist. I get a pretty good whiff of marijuana. I don't know if she was smoking a joint on the way here or something. But anyhow, who knows? Maybe she's being prescribed with marijuana to deal with post-traumatic stress disorder from seeing my picket signs. You know, just making a little joke here, but yeah. Okay, a couple of nice dogs coming along. So anyhow, this second half-hour segment I think is almost done. Take a look at the yeah, just a minute or two left of recording time. Beautiful dogs. Are you sure polar bears are allowed in Montreal? Then he might have an issue with it. Okay, oh, that's still running. I thought the tape would have run out, but yeah, I see these big white chow dogs and like to joke about them being polar bears. So we're going to start a second or third segment of video soon. Still running. Woof. Got about 30 seconds left. Okay. This thing just never ends. I have 15 seconds left.